Salutations, respected viewers. Here I am outside South Africa House in London. It's the South African High Commission. Now, in common parlance, that would be embassy. But South Africa is a member of the Commonwealth of Nations, and so we say High Commission rather than embassy. What else do we say about it? Yeah, and the man or woman in charge is the High Commissioner. So the Commonwealth of Nations is an organisation for countries, including the United Kingdom, that are former members of the British Empire. There you can see a springbok above the main entrance. This special deer-like animal is quite small, found in South Africa, and can jump very high, hence the springing, not as in the season of the year, but as in the jumping. And it was their symbol of their rugby team. So their rugby team were colloquially called the Springboks. They've got a springbok on the jersey, or just box for short. But even their cricket team sometimes called the Springboks, or South Africans in general, people sometimes call them boks. Since the 90s, that expression for South African has gone out of fashion. Some people think it only applies to white South Africans. I believe the South African rugby team has now dropped the Springbok, feel it's too associated with the apartheid era. You see the flowers there, another South African symbol. So it was just off Trafalgar Square, built in the 1920s, and there are quite a few high commissions around here. Canada House, there's a Ugandan High Commission, the Malaysian High Commission, and so on. Okay, so you see some more symbols, the fauna of South Africa. So it's got pride of place there, and I wish I could show you some more of the symbolism. Right, I'm not sure if you can see that on your screen. An image of Nelson Mandela on his wedding day with Winnie, I believe, who was his second wife. They later divorced somewhat acrimoniously. She was in jail briefly in the 60s. Then she was free, and then she was a luminary of the anti-apartheid movement. But she was up to all sorts of nefarious activities, alleged to have been involved in the murder of one of her young supporters. She certainly was convicted of his kidnap, not of his murder. So they split, and Nelson Mandela, he later married Graça Machel, the former First Lady of Mozambique. Her husband, Samora Machel, had led the fight against Portuguese colonial rule, been killed in an air crash in about 1987. Was it a bomb placed there by the South African Secret Service? Just possibly. Anyway, so more images here of Winnie Mandela, who was called to her reward just a few months ago. Nelson Mandela, he divorced his first wife because she was a Jehovah's Witness, believed in non-resistance and not getting involved in politics and so on. So the Jehovah's Witnesses in South Africa appear to have been secretly funded by the South African government and wealthy donors in the United States, paying for churches, ministers' salaries, cars, religious literature to be printed, probably to try and make the black working class more docile, to distract them from politics and into religious activity. Okay, so that is the former president of South Africa, who served 1994 to 1999, the first black president of the Republic of South Africa, who died in December 2013 at the age of 95. So, what else about South Africa House? You see the buffalo up here, and a few more. Is that Kudu, this next beast? And they're images of Dagama. If I go further back, you'll see lions' heads way up high. You can see the lions' heads, the bottom of the windows carved into the stone. Anyway, when I was a little boy walking around here with my mum, I would see protesters with their big placards outside saying something like, "The five must not hang." There were 5 anti-apartheid fighters who'd been convicted of murder, were due to be executed. I believe their lives were spared in the end. And I was about 6 years old, and they're saying, "Mum, why are those people chanting? Why are they angry?" And she was telling me what's what. So more beasts, and there you can see Dagama, 1488. Diaz, Bartolomeu Diaz. This is the Portuguese explorer who discovered it was possible to reach India by sailing around the Cape of Good Hope. That's South Africa. And so some more South African animals we're going to see. Is that another buffalo? Elephant a bit further up. And I wish people would look up and appreciate these things more. It really repays the effort. You see at the base of the windows, they've got some more animals and flowers above the windows. So there's a lot of handicraft has gone into this. They don't make them like that anymore. Portland stone it's finished with. So it's a very large, and I think you'll agree, aesthetically pleasing edifice. SAH is in South Africa House. And it says, a bit I didn't film around the corner on the main entrance, it says South Africa and South Africa, as in an Afrikaans. That language which originated from Dutch, well, developed out of Dutch, spoken by the Dutch immigrants in South Africa. They landed there in 1652. More lions up high and more flowers. Now, what else was I going to point out? I was sure it showed the name of another Portuguese explorer. Now, if I go further back, I don't think from this angle you'll be able to see it. This balcony, nobody comes out in the balcony. The thing is, the trees somewhat obscure it. And it says South Africa way up high, but I think you can't see it because of the foliage. It had an anchor as well, because they're a seafaring nation. There they are, where the Atlantic Ocean meets the Indian Ocean. Oh, and then it's got a coat of arms way up high, but I think from this angle it's going to be very difficult to show you on the screen. And they have their flag flying. Now, and this says Unitate, as in unity in Latin, way up high. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, above Diaz, but you can't read that. Unitate. So that is South Africa House. I've never been in, unfortunately. And now they can use it without fear of protest. And many anti-apartheid rallies were held on Trafalgar Square, which is just a few meters away. Yeah, and it's saying, as I said, South Africa, way up high. But if I go right up here, South Africa, the Afrikaans language, which, as I say, is really an old-fashioned version of Dutch, developed just slightly differently in South Africa. It's got the coat of arms again around the side. So that is South Africa House, unfortunately not open to the public.